Hello, good evening, and welcome back everyone to another episode of our The Wasted Hour podcast. This is Martin, and for this episode I met with designer Rolf Ekroth during Paris Fashion Week. We picked up Rolf's label for Spring/Summer 20 because from the beginning I was captivated by the futuristic sportswear influence and also by the story from his youth that he was telling through his clothes. So we met at the NoSeason showroom to talk about growing up in Finland, the death of Mac Miller, playing online poker, and of course his own label. Make sure to check out his collection in our shop on thewastedhour.com. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. Welcome everyone to another episode of our The Wasted Hour podcast. We are still in Paris and I'm not alone today. Today we are with our new label, Rolf Ekroth. And yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to do the interview with us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, what I wanted to start with the first question is I think your label really went huge in the last year. So, I wanted to ask, what was the best moment for you in 2019?
Well, we basically introduced the world to my own label, Rolf Ekroth, in 2019 in January in Pitti-Uomo. So we had a really successful launch party there. So I guess that was the fondest memory of that year. Otherwise, it's so hard to start your own label, and there's so much stuff you have to get through and learn new things. The money issues. There's just so much also unnecessary drama. So it's just been a shitty year, but I'm really happy it's over and I'm looking forward to 2020.
So we're still in January. So
yeah.
There's still hope.
There's hope that this will be much better. We had a really nice showing now in Pitti for our third collection. And the show was great. We got a great response for it. And we also have Japanese distribution deals for both labels. So I designed for Terinit as well.
Yes.
So I'm hopeful.
It sounds good. So we gonna get back to that later. I read in an interview that when you finished high school, that you felt lost after and that you didn't know what to do. What do you want it to be as a kid when you grew up?
I really don't remember any childhood dreams. Maybe there was something really simple like a sports star, but I played handball, which is quite familiar in Germany at least.
Yeah, it is.
So I played handball, so there wasn't really realistic expectations of being a pro.
Okay.
In Finland, it's a really marginal sport played by a few coastal cities. So yeah, I think sports star was the only thing that I remember from a child. But in my teens, I quickly realized that there's really nothing that I know that I really want to do. So in high school, I was just trying to figure things out. And in Finland, you have to go to the army. It's mandatory. So I went 1 year in the army.
Is it still mandatory in Finland as well? Okay.
Yeah. So after the army year, you start to apply for different schools. And I applied for psychology major. I applied for business schools, and then didn't get into any of those, but slowly got into my third option, that was social work.
Okay.
Because at those times most of my friends were going to business school.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I wanted to protest that, because I thought that I'm a good person, I'm going to heal the world. So I went to study social work as my major at Helsinki University, but I was the only boy in the whole class. We were 40 people there.
Okay.
And nobody had quite the same dark sense of humor as me. So I felt a bit alone there, I couldn't quite relate to any of my fellow students, and slowly I felt like this isn't probably something for me. I had one job practice at a criminal reform we call it criminal reform factory. It's not.
Okay, so when people were once criminals.
Yeah, when they get out of jail, we sort of take care of them and try to get them introduced to a normal life again. But that was the most depressing job I ever had. You just saw people going through the same loop year after year. I sort of felt really hopeless, and I think that was the turning point. At that time I feared that this is not something that I feel comfortable in doing.
Yeah.
So I just like I was lost, so I tried a million different sales jobs. I sold. I was at Bauhaus selling Bosch, electric, drilling machines, and I also sold magazines through telephone. Like I was one of those horrible telemarketers.
Okay.
But I was really good at it. I made like one of my best salaries is still from telemarketing. I think my best check was 6,000 euros a month.
Oh wow, that's. It's so crazy for me to think that people like buy magazines like through the phone.
Yeah, but this was in 2003, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Those times, so it's changed a lot. And it's so weird that I even remember things from that far away. It feels like a totally different life. Like it's not my life anymore. It's somebody else's that I just tell the story of.
Yeah.
So I tried those sales jobs. They were always just a small waiting room for me to get into the next place.
Yeah.
And then online poker came really big, and there was like TV shows, and all of my friends started playing poker, and I got really into it. I bought all the books. Poker was like my life.
It was your new religion.
Yeah, it became my religion and sort of my last hope at that time to be something.
Yeah.
Because all of my friends started to graduate from school. They became lawyers, doctors, businessmen, all of the like normal things that people do. And I was stuck because I always felt like I could be good at something, but I had no idea. Wow. So I felt like poker would be my last option or last like tree branch.
Yeah.
So I took it into heart and I really tried hard to be good at it. And at times I was okay, but I quickly learned that, well, I didn't learn, but I noticed that I'm too emotional to play poker.
Okay.
Like I think a good poker player is a sociopath of some sort. There must be some different levels to sociopathism, but you basically shouldn't feel any human emotions, but you should know how other people feel, and you should learn how to use them against them. Yeah. But I was always too dramatic. When I lost a hand by bad luck, I could throw thousands of euros away in a few minutes because I was just so mad. So after 3 years of going back and forth, I slowly, it took me a while, but I slowly understood that this isn't for me.
How long did it take for you to get good in poker? Like how long?
I was unlucky because I was quite good at it really early.
Yeah.
And unlucky, I mean unlucky by that I started winning immediately, and that was not a good thing because I thought that I'm like a natural talent and I'm really good. But in the beginning I was just lucky, and that was unlucky for me because that's basically what
kept you going.
Yeah, exactly. Because I always thought that I'm amazing at this, but in the beginning I was just lucky, and also the quality of players at that time when it got big was really bad.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of bad people playing, or not bad people, but bad people at poker playing money, just trying it out. So there was a lot of like free cash around. But then like after a few years, it's slowly the standard went higher and higher, and the loose money went away. So
yeah. I think there was like a big change. I remember that time too when like poker became really big. Some friend of mine dropped out of school and he just started playing poker, and he earned a lot of money at the beginning. And when I was like around 16 or like 17 and he was 18 and he was like buying a car, I was like, wow, like this is like really an option. Like this is real. So
Yeah. In Finland, we had like these megastars, like multimillionaires.
Yeah.
So I was looking up to them. I'm thinking like I'm only a year and a half away from that. But I never got there. I wasn't even close. I was just way too emotional.
Yeah.
So.
Did you play online or in real life?
Mostly online. I was also like for half a year. I was a card dealer at the Helsinki casino. So I learned a lot about reading people and yeah, I learned a lot more about the game and reading it, but it didn't translate into online as well as good. Yeah. And the most important thing is cash control, bank control, and then keeping your emotions in check. And I never learned neither of those.
Okay.
And that's a weird thing because I always knew that these are the things that I'm missing, but I couldn't change myself enough.
Okay, to be good at that.
Yeah.
Too. Do you still play poker sometimes?
Not at all.
Okay. So when you stopped for...
I stopped completely because I've tried it a few times during my studies at Aalto University for fashion. I tried it a few times, but I still got mad at it. Yeah. I still felt the raw emotion of how the hell does somebody beat me with that kind of luck, and it just tears the inside of me.
So how did eventually the fashion came into place for you?
Yeah, when I made the decisions that I have to quit, like this isn't healthy. I think I lost all of my money. You sort of went. I don't remember what the term is anymore in English, but I went broke at least for 20 times.
Okay.
And after I think the 20th, I was like, okay, this is it. There's no good reason to continue tormenting myself. Like, I just need like half a year for myself to figure things out. And I had a bit of money left from poker, so. Because you usually have your bank account, then your bankroll that you use only for playing. So you need to put aside a bit of money. So I had aside a bit of money so I could live for half a year. Okay. And one of my friends just said by accident like that you always like clothing. Why wouldn't you try being a fashion designer? And I think it was sort of a halfway joke or something, but it sort of started growing inside of me, the idea. And I decided to buy a sewing machine, and then I applied for the sewing school in Helsinki, and that sort of started the whole thing.
Okay. So when your friend said that you were always interested in fashion as well, do you remember like an icon back then when you were little, or someone you wanted to dress alike?
No, not really. I mean, I was really big into my teenage years was in the 90s, so I was really big into hip hop, and I always liked baggy clothing from that time period. So
also like a lot of big down jackets as well.
Yeah, big down jackets, big hoodies, which I still wear. I haven't changed, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
So, if you're like into hip hop, what kind of who's your favorite artist from then?
From then, I was the biggest Tupac fan. I was like probably Finland's #1 Tupac fan. I had all his albums. I knew all of the lyrics. I knew all of the songs.
Yeah.
So I was just like, it's weird when you're a teenager. You take things so into heart. So when he died, that was like the saddest day ever. Yeah. And I started reading all of this online because I think we got online, you got the internet in Finland, I think in 97, 96. Yeah. It started being a bit normal that you could get internet at home. Yeah. And then I just went to different Tupac sites and there started to be these rumors that he's still alive.
With all the theories.
Yeah, and I completely went into them and thought that this is real. So I was a typical stupid teenager.
There was also like always like a picture on the internet as well, like where he's like standing in a club, and they were like, it's like, oh, it's Tupac, he's alive. And others were saying, no, he's on an island, and others were saying, no, he comes back after 7 years.
Yeah, he comes back theories were my favorites, and I was always hoping, but he's still dead.
Yeah, but fortunately his music is still there.
Yeah, there's a lots of music. Yeah.
It's so funny because like just 2 months ago I was talking to a hip hop producer from Vienna, Brank, and I think he's one of the biggest West Coast fans of all time. And he too told me that the day when Tupac died, he was like just devastated. Like he was like 17 or 18 at that point. He was so sad like for a month or something, because like he had the feeling that he knew Tupac, like because he influenced him so much. And I think
his lyrics were so personal, and you felt that I think the best artist always makes you feel like you know them, what they feel, what they think, and that's something special. So I think that's why he touched so many. And why I was 15, and I remember I was in my dad's car, and we were waiting for my mom, and then the news came in, and I couldn't show emotions because my dad hated rap music. So I was like, no way. And then it just came on all of the different news channels, and I remember it really well.
Yeah. Do you still listen to hip hop nowadays?
I listen to it quite a lot. There's another artist that's also dead that I really liked, and there's been a lots of like amazing artists that have died the last few years.
Yes. From
Bowie to Prince. But for me, the most like devastating was Mac Miller.
Yeah.
I really liked him, and I don't know why. It still touches me, his death. And he just got a new album last week.
Yeah, the Circus album.
Yeah, so I've been listening to that a lot.
I haven't had the chance to hear it yet because I wanted to have like a special time just to hear it in one.
I recommend it. It's a nice feeling. It makes you sad but happy at the same time.
I think what hit me the most, like with Mac Miller, is that he was the first hip hop artist that was younger than me, which I was a fan of. Like normally, like rappers were always like way older than me. And when he came out in like 2010 with the Kids mixtape, it was the first time he was younger than me, and I liked him a lot. And then he kind of evolved a lot, and then like just when he put out Swimming, like it was just like a whole nother thing. Like he evolved so much as a musician, and that album is pure gold. And I just couldn't believe it that like this would be like his last album when he's like at that stage where he can do anything. Like he can sing, he can rap, and it sounds like just perfect, like everything that he did.
Exactly. That point felt like it was just a beginning for something so much more. So that's why it was so devastating.
Yeah.
And I guess it was an accidental overdose, so that makes it even more frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, Swimming is so good. Like I still listen to it almost weekly.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite track on it? Or?
I like the beginning when he sings like
To Come Back to Earth.
Yeah. And it's just a whole. Yeah, I really like Come Back to Earth. I almost started singing now. I had to stop myself.
Yeah, but I not only what you mean. It's one of those rare albums that you can listen to in one go, and it always gives you something new. You know, like from the beginning, I loved how Come Back to Earth fades into the hurt feelings. Like that's just a magic moment for me. And I always like for every different mood for me, there's another favorite song. You know, like I love 2009, like the song, and like there's some like Wings and Letters. It's just like all perfect songs.
There's this amazing YouTube clip. I think it's to Tiny Desk concert.
Yeah, with Thundercat on the bass there.
When he performs 2009, it's crazy good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always so happy to find someone who cares about that album as much as I do. So
yeah, me too. Because I had My ex-girlfriend really liked it, so we listened to it a lot.
Okay.
But there's not that many people that I talk Mac Miller with, so it's nice to meet someone.
Yeah. Yeah, really looking forward to the new album, and I'll text you afterwards what I
Yeah,
think about it.
I'm looking forward because I don't want to spoil it to you, but it's really different. But it's happy and sad. Yeah, it's happy and sad.
Yeah. But that's what makes it for me.
Yeah.
Like, I love Fuller. So
And actually, one more thing about the album. It's produced again by John Bryan,
yes,
who I really adore because he's been working with some of my favorite artists ever, Fiona Apple,
yeah.
which is amazing because I always listened to her and I had no idea that he was producing. I just read it in an interview later. And then he did the Kanye West, the Late Registration album. So I think he's amazing. Whatever he touches is always gold. And he did Elliott Smith
as well, yeah,
which was super good.
Yeah, that's also why I believe that this is one of the rare post-dad albums that have some kind of value, and it's not just some kind of marketing thing.
It didn't feel at all like a money grab, and I think his family did it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like they didn't. Yeah, it really feels like it's made with love and not with. Like there's a lot of dead artists, like Tupac's legacy was fucked up by his mom and everybody around, which is sad to say, because he had an amazing discography. Like he had, I think, almost 8 albums unreleased, and they managed to F them up, all of them.
All of them,
yeah. Because I have the unreleased original songs, and they're so much better than the crap that they edited and made.
Put out eventually. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So we could talk probably about music for like another 2 hours. This reminds me of the interview with Yang Lee where we just talked about the Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana for like 20 minutes, like non-stop. So
okay, because I could go there as well.
Yeah, but it's like I think like that. I always love to ask that question too, because like there are a lot of fashion designers who are like really into music. I think it goes hand in hand, and for us in the magazine as well. Like when I interview like musicians as well, like it's one of my big passions too. Like I started music was probably my first big love, and then came skateboarding. So those two always went together as well.
Yeah.
And no matter what I discovered, like fashion too, or like there was music is always kind of interwoven in it, and it's always like. It's always there, and when you once, I can say this for me, when you're once that passionate about music, like, and you know what it can give to you, you'll never let go of it.
Yeah, I agree, and it's always, for me, when I hear a good song, I start to maybe feel like a collection could be somehow involved with it, or I see sort of a runway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you choose the soundtracks for the presentations, I guess?
Yeah, we did it together because we have like 2 people working really hard on the presentations. So they also have really good taste in music, so I trust them. But it was basically me, my stylist Tuomas Laitinen, who was also my former teacher at Aalto, and then Alban Adam, who made the soundtrack for the presentation at Pitti.
Cool. So we already jumped ahead again, but when we were talking about your life, the last thing you said that you went to a sewing school in Finland.
Yeah, the sewing school was sort of it was quite a test for me because I had no idea what to expect. I registered online and it just said this is a sewing school for beginners. So I sort of thought like maybe I can get the courage to go there because I was feeling a bit depressed by then. I think I was 28 or 29 and I still haven't found what I was looking for, what I would like to do. And it was not a happy time in my life. So just registering to the course was tough, and then actually taking the train to a part of Helsinki where I never usually go to, and then walking into a mall, walking into like a 3rd floor, and then looking into the classroom. I was so nervous. I felt like cold sweat the whole time. And then I looked into the class and it was only grandmas. So I had signed myself up for a grandma's daily sewing club. And I felt so stupid and I wanted to turn back. But one of the people over there yelled at me like, "Hey, are you Rolf?" We were wondering who's the lone man who had signed up for this class. And I couldn't turn away anymore. I had to go in there. And I just felt so stupid and embarrassed. I remember my back was full of sweat and I was just so uncomfortable. But I managed through the first, like I've never used a sewing machine, so they basically got me through the basics of it.
Yeah.
Showed me how to sew a few things here and there, and then just learned me patterns. So the grandma course taught me sewing basics and pattern making basics, which was really good. Yeah. And by the end of the, I think it was half a year's course. By the end of the half a year's course, I really fell in love with making something with my own hands. So that's why I decided to give this thing a try, and I applied for a real sewing school. It was basically women's wear sewing school, and I got in. I went there for a year. The sewing school was okay in Helsinki, but I felt like it didn't challenge me enough. So I was always looking for the next step. So I applied for fashion design schools. I got into Lahti, which was basically like the second best school in Finland. And then in Lahti, the year was a bit disappointing. I felt like, well, basically on the first day of school, they said that we have this one big star who's working at H&M.
Okay.
And I felt like that was setting the bar a bit too low. so I was like, oh shit, like is this the second best school in Finland? And their biggest star is working at H&M. Okay. And nothing against H&M, but also against H&M.
Yeah, so that's not what you set out to be. Like.
No, that was not. Like I always thought that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to set my sights a bit higher. So I used basically the year in Lahti as a prep course to get into Aalto University, and then at my second try I got into Aalto, and that basically changed my life because Aalto was everything at that time. Aalto University, Tuomas Laitinen had taught at Aalto, I think for 8-9 years at that point, and he really started to get the program rolling. We had our first win. A group of 3 girls won Festival Year, which was amazing because we didn't know that we could be this good in Finland. We had no idea that the talent we have in our school is equal to what the world has also to offer. So that sort of opened my eyes, and that set my bars also that I want to be where they are at. And with my bachelor collection, I got into Festival Year. So I put those goals into my mind, and I worked really hard.
That's amazing to hear. Can you say, I think today it's considered one of the best fashion schools that's out there. Can you tell why?
It's Tuomas, 100% Tuomas. Yeah. It's because the people at Aalto at some point gave in to him because he's quite a strong mind and he knows what he's doing. So they gave him the chance to work the program to be exactly what he wanted, what he knew would work. And then it takes a few years, it takes a few competition wins, and then it starts just to roll in. And now it's rolling because most of my classmates are working at big houses or are starting their own brands. It's Paris is filled with Tuomas's ex-students, and there are just more and more coming. One of my ex-classmates just got a deal with Adidas, and Anna Isoniemi, she just made a collaboration with Adidas, and she was shooting the whole thing with Pharrell in Hollywood. So things are really looking up to Aalto in Finland in many ways. So I came just at the right time, and I was really lucky in everything that I've done, but I also worked really hard to get there.
Yeah. did at the same time a fashion scene evolve as well in Finland, like apart from the students? Or?
Not really, it's quite dead otherwise. There's a new generation of young kids, like hype kids, who are buying more and more expensive clothing, which I think is cool and fun. At the same time, it also makes me check my wardrobe more tightly. It's not fun that a 15-year-old boy comes in the same rough clothes as I do. So I need to be a bit more... I don't know how... Yeah, well, you can't... It's... Maybe you shouldn't be that tight about what other people are wearing also. But it's...
but I know what you mean. Like,
yeah.
I think you get a strange feeling when...
yeah.
But I think like these kids nowadays, they have like way more access. Like they see like a look on something on the internet or like on social media, and they just can copy it and they can get to the clothes with one click. And like back then, like in the early 2000s or like even in the late 2000s, you had to find like a store, and like it wasn't that accessible.
No, it was so different. But like I've been in fashion from I would calculate it from Aalto University, so 2012, and even then it wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's so easy, and it's a bit hard because because in Finland at least we aren't that educated in how fashion works. So when I put pictures of my latest collection on Instagram, I get questions like, where can we buy this? And I have to explain that this is the fall, half a year at least.
Yeah.
And then they are already bored and they want the next collection. So it's a bit hard.
Yeah, I think that's why they tried to break up the fashion cycle some years ago with when Burberry introduced like the ready-to-buy collection.
Yeah, but that didn't work at all.
No, that didn't work out as well. Like
no.
I think like it's strange that some people like don't like the cycle, but like for us it's like the everyday thing. Like you think like in terms of seasons, and even I sometimes lose track. Like I came here for the first day and I was thinking again, I was seeing summer or autumn, winter right now, because like sometimes it's so much like, and there's pre-May, something in between. So
I would like it to be 2 seasons, not the pre.
Yeah,
that would be perfect for me, and just for the workload also.
Yeah.
But if we get lucky that we need to add a few lines, of course I'm more than happy to do them.
Yeah. Was it during Aalto as well that you decided to start your own label?
That came like a bit by accident, because my biggest goal when I was studying was to get into the festivalier, and when I got into that, I got a deal. I won one prize, which was to do a capsule collection with Galerie Lafayette.
Yeah.
And when that came out, it sort of felt like really nice that I have my own name out in the stores. And after that, Finland was chosen to be guest nation in Pitti-Uomo, and that was in 2018, January. So for that, I got another deal with a Finnish company to do my own label. It was Rolf Ekroth X Halti. So we did a collaboration with them. And then basically I already had 2 big collaborations with my name on it.
Yeah.
And that sort of then the idea started to grow on me. But basically after that I was going to take a job at a big Parisian fashion house. The position was really good and the money was also really good. But when we were still negotiating those things, a Finnish investment company found me and introduced me to Terinit.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the deal with Terinit seemed really good, but at the same time I said, like, I have no reason to take this if you don't offer me a bit more. I want to start my own label and I want you guys to back it. And the investors looked at each other for a few minutes and they were like, okay, let's do it.
Cool, so we're in a comfortable position to propose that.
Yeah, so when I got the opportunity to start 2 new labels, one which was carrying my own name, that was an opportunity you don't turn your back to. So So I said thank you no to the fashion house here in Paris, and I decided to go for it.
Amazing. How does your work differ from working with Therinet and for your own label?
Basically, well, the collections differ lots in materials and cuts and details, and like overall feel to the collection. Therinet is supposed to be a bit younger, a bit sportier. Like it's basically my second label, which is a bit more approachable and a bit more affordable, but still it's still like a fashion slash street label. And then Rolf is basically what we want to do is a fashion label. What we aspire to be.
Yeah.
But we're still in the beginning, so
Yeah, but it all looks amazing. Like I said before, like when I discovered you in the showroom in June, like I think you discovered this as well. You just showed me like the lookbook, and like it was beautifully done.
Thank
So,
you.
like,
Yeah,
from the
that
pictures-
was shot by Tuomas's spouse, Chris Vidal-Tenoma, who is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a really good time shooting that collection. We shot it at an island near Turku archipelago.
Yeah.
We were really lucky with the weather also. So
With the light and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense. Like then you're from Finland, and then like the lookbook kind of is like my imagination of what it's there on the best
Yeah.
day of the year.
exactly, that was the best day of the year probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sort of, because we're from Finland, I don't see any reason to hide it. So use what we can,
Yeah.
and that's what we basically do for at least Therinet. For the inspiration for my own collection, it's a bit more from what I like, and I've never felt that Finnish. Like I always like things from abroad, and I always imagine myself living abroad.
Yeah. So do you still live in Finland, or?
I still live in Finland,
Yeah.
and every year I say this is the last year, and then I go and sign a 4-year deal. So at least for 3 years more, I will be in Finland.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. I mean, I like it, but the autumn and the winter time, basically the autumn is just so depressing and dark.
Yeah.
So you always kick yourself like, why do we stay here? And wonder what the ancestors thought when they moved there.
When they settled down.
Yeah,
there,
how people are still alive is.
But we ask ourselves that even in Hamburg, you know, like where it's like in the north of Germany, and like the winter is just really like the sun doesn't come out at all at some days. It's just like gray. And even here in winter in January, the sun is at least shining. And even though it's cold outside today,
Yeah,
like it's just a different kind of vibe when the sun is shining.
it's so different. Like I was just jokingly saying that the first time I saw the sun in 2 months where it was in Pity. But maybe that wasn't a joke. I think it might be true. So it might have been 2 months since I last saw the sun. Oh yeah.
So if you would live in Finland, that's one of the questions I always ask, like all the interviews. Where would you go to, and why?
I have no idea, because I don't think I want to live in Paris either.
Yeah.
And it should be probably a fashion town. So I don't know, maybe Milan.
Yeah.
Maybe because my girlfriend is half Italian, so I'm naturally drawn towards maybe more Italy. I like the language more there also. Well, hard to say. I really can't imagine myself living anywhere else either. But I always feel like I want to be somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like up in the mountains somewhere in Italy, like just so secluded by nature and not being close to any other humans
Yes.
would be perfect.
So we said at the beginning that you hope for 2020 to be like a better year than the last one. So what are your plans, and what's up next for you?
We met a lot of interesting people here in Paris at our showroom. I think there's a good chance for us to expand on both labels globally. So I think that's our number one priority. I think the market in Europe is quite bad at the moment. What they said at the showroom, it's never been this quiet ever. So that's a bit worrying, but at the same time, Asian market is growing and growing. So I think we want to really to keep our labels afloat. We need to be in Asia. So expand there, and I think we will do a few pop-up events here and there in Tokyo, and I think that's a good start. And then I think China will come after Japan, and then also South Korea. But we also, I think we sold Terenit into Singapore, so I think we're at a good point now that I can see a brighter future, some kind of light in the tunnel.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting too. I'm very much looking forward to stock your brand at our shop too. And
Cool.
I'm very much looking forward to see the new collection now. So thank you very much for taking the time and for talking to us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Thank you.